Hello and welcome back to another week of DXV podcasting with Nye, Chris and Ollie. This week we'll be talking about the semi-final action from this past week, as well as the Gallagher Premiership finals next weekend. So guys, I'm back in as the adjudicator. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but we'll go with that.
Childminder.
We went rogue without you,
yeah. The enforcer. So last weekend's games, guys, Northampton Saracens, Bath Sale. What are your thoughts from Northampton Saracens?
Decent game, really good game. Actually, it was good. I think this weekend was a really good advert for rugby. I thought Saints, there was a moment where I wasn't sure who was going to, there was a good portion of the game where I was like, I'm not sure that Saints have got this in the tank, because Saracens were doing typical Saracens things and really pulling it out of the bag, and then discipline just kind of let them down a little bit. Let Saints back into the game, and away they ran all the way to the final. It was really sad at the end to see the likes of Farrell and the Vunipolas, who were obviously quite devastated.
Stalwarts,
that's their last game at Saracens. You can't send them away on a high. But no matter which way you look at it, right? Like on the other side, you've got the likes of Courtney Laws, Alex Waller, Lewis Ludlam, like also club legends who are leaving that club. So either way, somebody goes home sad, and that's the nature of sport, right? So
I think you still got to be quite happy that even to get to and reach and hit a Premiership semi-final, right?
You've done well.
Yeah, you've still got to see that as a positive. I mean, like coming up into that last week of sort of like round 18, we weren't even sure who was in that sort of top four. So just to get into there and get through and into a semi, and let's be honest, close, like really close game, little drop kick, little penalty to sort of like see it in the end. Really close game. You've got to be happy with that performance, I think. But yeah, me and Chris both backed Northampton on our predictions. And Chris was a bit closer than mine. Chris said by 10, I said by 14, and they stole it by 2. So if anything, that just gives credit back to a good Sarries team, I think.
Just a shout out though, Laws at this point in his career, we've said it before, but damn it, I'm going to say it again. Like, Jesus, that man is good. He's hit peaks since he left England. He's insane. Yeah. That little choke tackle at the end. I mean, granted, Mayana Vanua kind of held him up, but Laws, the presence of mind, turns around, grapples him, forms them all. Yeah, does classic Laws things, closes the game out. That's what you need, big moments. And then Juan Martin Gonzalez, did you see his try saver?
Oh yeah,
both games had some epic try savers.
The Mitchell,
what back row is catching an international scrum half?
It's already been coined as one of the best tackles of one of the best tackles of all time. That was crazy. I was like, he's in. Surely he's in.
Yeah, he's away. There's no way you stop that.
Dude, and one arm as well, essentially, wasn't it? He came in and just grabbed him and just flung him. It was unreal. Yeah, I caught that on the highlights.
He has been the signing for Saracens of the century. Coming from London Irish to Saracens, he has made such an impact.
Yeah.
So good. And Lucio Cinti, similarly, another Argentinian signing.
I had Cinti in my fantasy team this week, and he proved fruitful. He did.
Dude, he had a cracking game. Absolutely awesome game. 1 try, 72 meters made. Phenomenal player. Genuinely really, really good. That's crazy power as well. 9 carries, 8 crossed the gain line, which is nuts. But I thought he had a really good game. And then the big hitter, I know, Chris, you're hurting from this one, mate. Bath Sale.
I'm not going to talk about
it. Bath 31, Sale 23. What are your thoughts from that one?
Firstly,
looking at me, boys.
Are you not going to talk about it?
I'm not going to talk about it.
Firstly, Chris's prediction of Sale winning by 3.
Was so close at one point.
Yeah, wasn't so
close.
Oh yeah.
I thought at one point, here we go, we might be close. I did say Bath by 10, so I wasn't exactly.
You're not a million miles
ridiculous. Yeah.
I think
you close.
The game was good. It was there was Sale put up a really good fight, and I put out a little tweet on our Twitter as well, saying on our X. Sorry, it wasn't a tweet. Whatever you call a tweet now on X. The platform formerly known as Twitter. But yeah, I put a little tweet out saying, like, I think this is the final that the Premiership needed, that the league needed. Like, it's two really well supported clubs. Bath haven't had anything for years now that was commentated on to death over the weekend. Northampton similarly haven't had a final for it like ages, and now for them to fight through and go there, and they're two really good clubs. I thought Johan van Grant, I got so much respect for that man as a coach. Like, his little speech afterwards was really nice. I've seen him speak a couple of times, and I've been really impressed with like how he engages with things and what he does. So I was super impressed with him. And then Bath just had a different gear. I think Sale let too many like opportunities just fall through the net. Just like they were in good position and just nothing came of it. They'd spill the ball or some silly error would come up. There's one where it was like Tom O'Flaherty's run, and granted, epic try saver again from Ollie Lawrence to like chase across the pitch. If you look at where he came from as well to get to that, like get all the way across and tackle what is Tom O'Flaherty, who's not slow. But then he gives the offload to Roebuck and he just like scrambles it. And I'm like, I get that's a really difficult and it's really easy to judge sat on the couch with a beer in hand, right? Like, it's the easiest place to criticize, but at the same time, you want to be an international wing, get your hands on the ball, like, and just carry it over the line, because that was pretty much a gimme if you get it. But little things like that stopped it. And then but Bath had some standout performances. Like, there were some really, really talented players in that team. I think in the end their pack had the better of it, which is saying something against the Sale, who kind of pride themselves in their forward power. Beno Obano had an epic game, got me a try. Like, that's where annoyingly, this is where I got a lot of my fantasy points. So like I had Obano in my team, I had O'Flaherty in my team, I had Hill in my team, all of whom came away try scorers, and I was like, yeah, mega. Like,
Hill had a stormer. I think, and it was like you said, that it's not very often that sort of Sale forwards defence at times was really, really good. And I think it was the last try was almost Sale-esque, like Sale did at the beginning, like catch and drive over massive sort of push at the end, just to sort of take them out of what is that sort of kickable range and something that we're still sort of in. But I think was it just before half time, it was still like 18 all. I think it was like everyone very much in
Sale
it.
took the lead at one point. Sale had the lead, like I think it was 23-21 at one point.
Yeah, it was.
And then I was like, "Ooh, we're on here, boys, we're on." And then no, just like then you let Bath back in, and they're gonna take it. And there's some really promising performances though. I think Joe Carpenter from Sale fought his way into the England shirt from there. From that game, had an epic game.
He did. Ben Spencer.
Mate,
Ben Spencer. You fucking
phenomenal.
love Spencer.
Ben Spencer.
As much as
a skipper. So like as a skipper, I think he's just like he's exactly what you want from a skipper. I think he comes in, like I said, even that little sort of kick, and that's not something that we usually see him do, and that little kick to sort of put the try in. Although I think it was it Hill that got that try. Ben Spencer kick. So he, like, on the lead up to that, absolutely butchered, and there was like a overlap. I think it's like they spun it wide, and he had the chance to like give the pass, like release a wing, and he like butchered it. It's like carried himself into three people, and I was like, and then he ends up getting the try, and I was like, Jesus. Ben Spencer. I mean, Finn Russell, like, knocking 51-meter kicks over sort of confidently. All right, I think he rattled the post with one that was a bit closer, but like knockout rugby, right? We said that to lose the Leinster, taking the three, and like you said, I think they converted. Bath got in, and any chance to take those 3 points, those penalties, took them, and I think that's what sort of ultimately put them out.
I genuinely thought we might have seen more of the drop goal out of forward. Like, you have somebody who did a thing on For the Love of Rugby this week on the podcast. I don't know if you guys saw it, where he went on and he talked through like his thought process behind hitting a drop goal, and I was like, there's no better time to pull off an Argentina type performance than now. Just drop goal, drop goal, drop goal. Thank you very much. And that saves that game for you, right? Like, if you can pull those out of the bag, then that saves that game for you. But it wasn't to be, and I think, like I said, it's a Bath Northampton final is good. Twickenham's now sold out, which is the first time that's happened since I think COVID. So all 80 plus thousand seats in Twickenham are gone. You can no longer get tickets.
That's awesome.
So
For
there
a
was a
league game,
little bit
that's quite impressive.
There was a little bit of a rager online. I think there's a couple of tweets and definitely some bits on like Facebook about obviously sort of like Bath Northampton fans almost sort of moaning.
But they can't get tickets now.
They can't get tickets for what is their own team, and somebody moaning that obviously it's like their fans that should be there watching it, not anybody else's. And I was like, well, look at it the other way round. I was like, if you've got that many people supporting the Premiership as a whole, that they just want to go to Twickenham and see the best game of rugby that should be in the league, that you've almost got to be happy with that sort of Premiership. But
and invariably, some people will sell their tickets. Like there'll be Sarries fans who thought their team would get there. There'll be Sale fans who thought their team would get there.
And
who will be selling their tickets.
It's really smart. There was still a chunk of tickets that was like allocated to the clubs.
Yeah, but they've gone as well.
Yeah, so they've gone now, but obviously that's like the clubs that have got.
I get it.
Got through that have got allocated. But
if you're the league, though, you've got to hedge your bets, right? Like you can't just wait until now and then hope that the clubs pick up 20,000 each, and now I've got 60,000 tickets left to sell in a week. Like you can't.
Yeah, just one about that. Yeah, I think actually the good about the rugby shared it. Did you see the Bath supporter that's had the tattoo?
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
So there's a Bath supporter, on the top of his.
Come on, you Bath.
Right.
Champion 2024.
2024 champions, like come on you Bath, already tattooed on his leg. And as somebody that has a few tattoos, one from a rugby tour, in Thailand that I don't think is fit for this podcast. I was like, that's a brave shout.
And against Saints as well, right? Like that's against.
That's an upset, but it was a brave tattoo. I thought I'd give him a little shout out for that.
Yeah, and kind of moving on to how your guys' DXVs got on. So obviously we played the beta, or pushed the beta out this weekend. How did you guys stack up against the rest of the competition, and any standout performers that you guys had in your teams?
So I won the league, out of the thing by a fairly comfortable margin as well, 561 points.
You sure you didn't use any of your god rights, mate, to change bits around after the fact?
No, I wouldn't do that. That's cheating, and I'm a man of integrity, as you well know, only. I was like 50.
No, go on.
Like I think I was 50 points, nearly 50 points clear of second. So good margin as well. Didn't just scrape by, won comfortably, which I think it's got interesting when you start getting like messages in the group chat about like people complaining about like, I'm sure he did more than that. So it was good, and I got a few of those messages off now.
I genuinely looked, and I was really upset because I was like, I think I was behind him the exact amount that was the difference between sort of, I think, Langdon and who I had Jamie George in, and it was like Parton. So Parton obviously went off like early.
Yeah.
I think it was like 20-minute sort of point went off with only 2 points. So I think if you added up the difference between sort of Parton and O'Flaherty, I think it was, and then Langdon and Jamie George, and that was almost the exact points that I fell behind Chris.
I did get a bit of luck. Yeah. I did get a bit of luck with the likes of Urbano getting a score. That was a big help.
Yeah.
Saying that, Slightholme did nothing for me. Captain Slightholme. And that turned out to be a really close game, and he was pretty well shut down throughout the whole game. So.
It was at the point where I had Martin Gonzalez captained. So it's like even I had to go back into my own game and check what we were awarding points for, because I was like, do we award points for try savers? I was like, going back to our own game. I was like, what were the points again? Going through, and I was like, surely there's got to be No.
Yeah, but Langdon was my standout. Langdon got me. I mean, this will change. They're changing a couple of the like value of some things because lineouts in particular are really like hookers are really profit from lineouts at the minute. So we're going to change a couple of the points values. But he came away with 73.8 compared to like the next highest, which I think was like close to 40. So he did really well. 10 meters in contact, 4 defenders beaten. 12 tackles, 2 offloads. Like he was busy. So he was kind of my standout. Probably him, Obano with a try out of nowhere for the front row. Love it. And then Ted Hill as well did really well for me actually. If I look at him from last week, he came away with 53 points. Obviously try scorer, 2 line breaks, 1 defender beaten, 2 successful jackals, 9 tackles, absolutely smashing it. I think he's probably a bolster for the England team now as well. So not a bad week all in all, actually. There was one point where the dev from Sweden, who's been helping us build a lot of the back end data stuff, was ahead of me. And I don't think because he just picked a random team. Like he'd just gone through and like tried to fit his budget with like stars. I was like, and he was ahead of me for a portion of the game. So I'm not sure if I broke European work time regulations by sending a message at like 10 at night being like the world is back to rights with my name at the top of the leaderboard. But yeah, that was a good weekend.
And on that, so obviously we launched the kind of beta test this past weekend. We've got some really good feedback from that, so thank you for everyone who took part and kind of gave feedback on that. What are we doing what have we been doing sort of this past week and looking into this week, guys?
So we're going to launch another beta, but a bit wider. Made a few of the changes people talked about. There are still a few to come. We've got a few bits to work on around the selection mechanism, tidy that up, and a few kind of aesthetic pieces. But the machine is trucking along. So if you want to have a crack, have a play, see what it looks like, and give us your thoughts. Good, bad, and ugly. Preferably more good, but then please do so and let us know.
Yeah, cool. And big news this week as well, because obviously Borthwick has a couple more people to choose from for his England team now. And we'll go on to the Welsh team in a second. But Chris, England team selection, a couple of players kind of inserted into the team ahead of the sort of tour later on this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was some surprises. I think most people would be surprised to say that to see that Daly's not in. So Elliot Daly drops out of the squad and hasn't been selected. I think that's probably. I've always rated Daly. I think he's a great all-around athlete. But I think when you look at the talent in the back three competing for those places now, and the pace that you're looking for, it's not. There's quite a few fans who won't be too disappointed. To see the likes of Faye Woboso, Roebuck, who else have we got in there? Joe Carpenter, all kind of come into that side and take those spots. So that's pretty good. You've also got Tom Willis coming from Saracens. So Tom Willis, obviously Jack Willis's bigger brother, plays 8 for Saracens, had a really good season. He topped the kind of carrying and contact meters stats before he got injured and then came back later on. Came off the bench for Billy Vunipola this weekend. He's in the squad as well, which is good to see. And then the likes of your old stalwarts, Ben Earl, obviously back in, never in doubt. Jamie George, Theo Dan, always coming back. The old boys, Dan Cole and Joe Marler, still get a call up. They're back in this week. I don't know when we're going to be able to wean ourselves off of them, but they're, for want of a better word, or to find some new talent from in the front row. But yeah, Dan Cole and Joe Marler back in. Then you've got Ben Curry, Tom Curry, the Curry twins. Both get a look. Obviously, some of these will drop out as Saints come in, right? Because they've got their own cohort to add to that list. And like I said, I think Ted Hill from Bath, he'll come in the likes of Barbary might get a look. Pearson potentially in with a shot as well, and also one of my personal favorites, Rafi Quirk. He's into the squad as well, so hopefully he gets a good look and impresses, because he hasn't had a lot of running game time at Sale this year. And it'd be good to see him in England shirt again, because I thought he really impressed against South Africa in his last game. Kind of made a crucial try scorer, and he's just really explosive and all around the park. So all in all, quite a strong squad, some serious depth. And like I said, when you think some of those people are leaving, it's like, okay, well, who? And then the only person to drop out, though, is Guy Pepper from Newcastle, which is weird considering he was one of the ones that got called up to the Six Nations squad when, I forget who it was who got injured. Someone got injured. I think it was Chandler Cunningham South, and Guy Pepper got the call up to come to the squad. So yeah, but all in all, quite a good squad. It'll be good to see. I'm hoping they keep this Rose series going. They've had out on YouTube in recent years. It's quite good to see the ins and outs of the kind of camp and what they've been up to. But they keep quite a good social profile, so I'll be following that quite closely.
Yeah. And Naomi, what are your thoughts on the Welsh team selection ahead of what is going to be a pretty intense summer tour, right? Because you got South Africa and then Australia.
Yeah, going to be pretty big. And we'll skip over the fact that you went to England first and not Wales, but we'll gloss over that. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time for Welsh rugby. Gats has sort of come back, took a grenade to the squad, and whether you were looking at sort of Gats being looking at 4 years' time, looking at the next World Cup, looking to sort of sow seeds and not a lot of new players. So not a great Six Nations, but obviously that was a mass sort of like some key big injuries that we forget. Sort of like Jack Morgan and him coming back in with Derry Lake. Both of them were sort of co-captains, and both of them have had the captaincy hat. So it'd be interesting with both of them coming back in to see what happens with sort of David Jenkins, and again, it's not sort of named what is a captain yet, so it'd be interesting. So yeah, like 4 key players back, Shishima in, Ben Carter back, yeah, Derry Lake, Jack Morgan. Having Jack Morgan back had a phenomenal World Cup, so no doubt that'll be huge. Still some sort of stalwarts in there, and I'm not sure whether that's, I wouldn't say it's sort of like forced his hands with maybe he selected too many sort of new young players in the Six Nations, and maybe didn't get the balance right with some sort of senior players in. But Elliot D, just over 50 caps now, sort of back in. Dylan Lewis back in. Sam Costello as the only sort of out and out 10 really is
That's kind of the big
surprise.
call, isn't it, really?
Yeah, and sort of.
Is this the final squad, do you know, or has he got more people to pick from? Because you've still got Ospreys in the.
So there's still a few that have been named from them in. I'm expecting this will still grow from what it is, and drag some people in. But Kieran Giles as an uncapped player for Ospreys has been pulled in. I think there's 4 uncapped players. But bear in mind how many uncapped players he played for the Six Nations. Realistically, there's still, I think the average age for the whole team is sort of 25. And obviously the average sort of, and the average caps is well down.
Like -2.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
but
it's going to be interesting to see how they go on, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And I think that, let's be honest, there's only the only way is up. You've come from a Six Nations where you've lost every game. You are coming up against some big, like you've got world champions. You got sort of got a point to prove. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Some sort of Liam Williams back from sort of Japan will only be good for the team. However,
you have got
impressed. But
I don't know if you noticed, you have Josh Hathaway in from Gloucester, the guy who was England under-20s, and then like not having a Faye Weboso scenario again.
Coming back in. Yeah, it's one of the other uncapped Josh Hathaway. I think you've got the Cardiff boys. You got Beaton and Bevan, the scrum half, coming in from sort of Cardiff Blues.
Mason Grady.
Yeah, so Liam Williams is back. No, it'll be interesting. I think it looks like a more sensible mix of senior players, younger players, a bit more experience than what was Six Nations, and some key players back. So I'm really good to see the sort of form that Derry Lake and sort of Jack Morgan come back in, and it'll be an interesting summer.
Your back row almost picks itself. Like
Wainwright, Rafael,
and Morgan. Like, but do you play Morgan at 6? Interesting. And then you've got, I saw a post actually which was pretty damning. They're like, oh, I don't know, it'd be interesting to get your thoughts. I think it was Rugby Inside Line, who said like there's no talismanic players in that squad. And I was like, it may be a little bit true, but I'd argue that you've probably got Jack Morgan has become almost like talismanic, right? And a bit of like Aaron Wainwright, maybe. You got to build them, right? You haven't, you're starting from very much like foundations at this point.
Yeah, and it was very much, and that was a Grenada, the sort of team, and not necessarily sort of him, but almost forced its hand, having people like Tipperick, Alan Jones, some Dan Bigger. So like there's like your long running talismans in terms of Bigger, Alan Jones, players like that, and even Tipperick, Dan Lydiard. It's been some senior players have all walked away, but now's the time to sort
retired now.
I don't know actually.
I don't think I've seen
anything
retired. I'm surprised he's not in there.
But again, like that back row against everything else, and even there's some people that we haven't mentioned that would be looking at a decent shout into that back row. I think it's going to be an interesting summer, and I think Wales have got maybe a little bit of something to prove, but the team looks like a better mix. I'm interested to see what they come up with.
Yeah, Faletau fractured his shoulder, hence why he's out.
That's a hit. But then does he even at this point make it past Rafael, Wainwright,
and that's
Morgan?
Yeah, and again, there's Tane Basham. There's
Jack Morgan almost certainly comes back as your captain, surely.
So he shared it with sort of Derry Lake, and David Jenkins is in there, and I'd like to think so, but that's something again they'll look at. I think when Gat said they'll look at getting the leadership appointment done when they get into camp, and how the boys come back in. Yeah, and he, like throughout the Six Nations sort of changed bits before, and again Derry Lake and Jack Morgan have sort of had it, and it's been passed around a little bit. So I think getting all those players into a training camp and seeing who people react to, seeing who people sort of listen to, and sort of commands that bit of space. So it'd be really, really interesting. I'm excited. Like I said, there's only the only way is up for Welsh rugby at the moment. Going to be a good summer.
Yeah. Let's focus back in on the Prem, the big game.
Oof.
This weekend, the Premiership final. Predictions, guys. Chris, who do you think is taking it?
I'm going to go with Saints. Saints by 5.
No?
I'd love to see Bath do it, but I think Saints by 9.
Okay. I'm still hopeful, so I'm going to say Bath by 3. And that's my prediction. But let's talk about some key players, key matchups there. You've obviously got sort of, Spencer Mitchell. You've got Russell Smith. Where do you guys think the battle's going to get won? Yeah.
I think you've got 2 very high quality 9s and 2 very high quality 10s. So that's not. I don't think that will be the decider. I think the pack will decide it. Like in this game, I think it's going to be one up front. So. And that's really interesting, right? So where you pick out here in terms of your back row probably, but also your front row in its own way. Because I think the scrum, if you can get ahead on things like the set piece and your scrum, then you just control that. You'll control that game and the flow. So I think Obano almost certainly goes in my team as the kind of front runner. I'd go Finn Smith in my fantasy team. He's a bit fewer credits than Finn Russell. And I don't think it's, like I say, both. I don't think it's going to become like an open, free-flowing game where your 10's going to be getting loads and loads of points everywhere. I think it's going to become like I say, it's going to become a bit of a slugfest. Laws would almost certainly be a shoe-in for my team, particularly given that as it stands in the game, he's listed as a lock for some reason, and we're looking at fixing that. But while that little loophole exists, I'm going to take advantage of it and stick him in my team.
Four back row, shocking.
Ted Hill, Barbary.
Yeah.
But you also then got Horner Augustus from Saints, who's had a stormer of a game. So some really key selections. Back three, I think Saints probably have the better of it now. I don't know if you disagree. I think they probably have the between Slightholme, Furbank, and Freeman.
Yeah, I'd say so. Less sort of experience, and again, sometimes when games like this happens, sometimes experience helps. Sometimes somebody that's been in this position in a big final at sort of Twickenham and had a lot of cock and a singer, people like that, sometimes they can prove really fruitful. And sometimes, again, that younger sort of back three that Saints have got, can just turn up, take the opportunity for what it is. It'll be a really interesting game. And I know you've mentioned sort of Finn Smith, and like, look at what Finn Russell is. And a few years ago, I'd be 50-50, because Finn Russell, like a few years ago, would either win you or lose you a game. And that was sort of amplified by you put like this much pressure on him. But I think recently, again, for Scotland and for Bath, he's now consistent. And I think he will genuinely, in this, now is the time. I think you'll see some Finn Russell magic. And I think he will be a key player. I think he'll do some magic stuff and create some stuff in what will be an otherwise tense and highly contested game.
Big question is, though, who takes over when? So do you have Orlando Bailey on the bench to take over from Russell? Do you have who's their secondaries, right? So who's Bath's secondary scrum half? Who's their secondary? I think Northampton probably edge the quality on that side. Like Sam James has done an excellent job for Saints in the absence of Mitchell. Yeah. And you've got the likes. I mean, I imagine they'll almost certainly play a Yogan off the bench. He's a quality scrummager, and there's not many teams that you'd be like, oh, I'm going up against Sarries, we'll get front row dominance, and Saints did. Like,
I've backed Saints to win by 9 because I think they will. I think they'll take it sort of scruff of neck. But we were both at Twickenham recently, and we watched them lose, did we not?
Capitulate to Quins, yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting all round. It's going to be a hell of a game, and I think if you would have said at the beginning of the season and a few rounds in that Bath would be now sat there after their first sort of a couple of rounds in the season, if you were sat there now saying that they'd be in the Prem final, I think it would have shocked a few people.
2 seasons ago, they were bottom, like dead last.
Yeah.
People were talking about relegating Bath. They were terrible. Now, all of a
2
sudden,
seasons, 2 seasons ago, bottom. Last season, 8th, I think they finished. But then you look at their track record for Northampton recently, and it's, past 5 games, they've won 2, Northampton won 3. Most recently, obviously, they played like last month. I know it was against a much sort of reduced Northampton side, with them going into the European game the following week. But they still absolutely thumped them then. Granted, the other couple of times it's been pretty close. So back in November,
they played them last week, didn't they? That's a repeat of the There's a repeat of the last game of the season. So the last game of the regular season was Saints, Bath, so and then
they played them in May. It was the weekend before Northampton went to the European Cup.
No, it was the weekend after that. They rested their players because they'd already qualified, I think, wasn't it?
Bath smashed them. Or maybe it was that. It was either that or it was they were going to the European Cup. I can't remember.
They'd already qualified, so they rested their players.
43-12. But Before that, it's actually been pretty close. You know, back in November, it was 24-18 Northampton. September before that, it was 43-42 Northampton. You know, so really, really close affairs. And yeah, I got faith.
Got faith.
I got faith. Yeah.
Oh, mate,
But
I
don't give
wouldn't
away
be
too many.
surprised. Like, I would not be surprised if it
Yeah,
wouldn't be
yeah.
like an upset if Bath won it. It wouldn't be.
Yeah, not at this point.
Fingers crossed. I don't give away too many nuggets, guys, especially not you, Chris, having just come top of the league last week. If you guys, the viewers, want to check out our teams, then please, you've got the opportunity to, basically, this weekend. Please jump on the app, which will push out via social media, the website, and have a look and build your own team yourself and see if you can beat us. You probably will beat me. I will probably come last, but we shall see. Okay, that concludes another week of DXB Rugby. If you aren't sick of us yet and you want more rugby focused content like this, then please follow us on any one of our social media accounts: X, Facebook, Instagram, and our TikTok account, where we post daily rugby insights and keep you up to date on our progress, ready for our launch in August this year. We'll also post on there about the open beta that we're pushing out, so jump on, and it'll take you straight through to the website where you can have a go and see if you can beat us. Thanks for joining us, and see you next week.